I
I
ran into
know.
you at a party at like Masari Mainnet or something. Like something that I would never even go to anymore.
Oh my God. Do you recall the context? As in
No.
like Sorry Mainnet 2021, 2022.
I think it was 2021. I
Mm,
think I think that's the only
very scary
year I
times.
went. Yeah. I think that was the only year I went to Masari Mainnet was
Oh
2021.
my God. No, that'd be insane because Mesari 2021 was it wasn't my very first crypto conference ever, but it was definitely one of the first ones. Apart from I went to this one crypto meetup in 2016 in my at UBC in my university, and that was the one other time. But Mesari was like, sorry, the UBC one was like this math and economics honors guy being like, I made a trading bot and lost all my money. And Mesari Maynard was like, look at all the insane things that are is happening now. So
Yeah.
very much a whiplash.
Yeah, I think that was one of my first conferences as well.
Mm,
First or second. But I didn't actually
mm.
go to the like did you actually go to Masari Mainnet? Or
No, I was hanging out with Tarun and he told me pull up, and I said okay, and then I showed up at this like random crypto event
yeah.
after party thing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're doing this again. Hopefully. Are you going to DevCon by the way? Will I see you there? Okay, cool.
I am going to DEF CON. We're having a bit of an offsite with the Dora team. We'll be in Chiang Mai as well, if you're
Oh,
coming
okay.
or if
I'm so
listeners are
bummed.
coming.
I can't make it because my brother-in-law is getting married on November 9th, like the weekend before DevCon starts in
Oh
Chicago.
man,
So I can't like there's no way to skip that obviously, So yeah.
Chicago will be a fun time to get married. Fun place to get married.
Yeah. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
though I don't like high frequency traders or Chicago hot dogs or Chicago pizza. But
Yeah, I never understood the pizza feud. The pizza feud seems like a psyop to me. It seems like more propaganda to divide America further.
probably, yeah. So do you like pizza at all?
I fuck with pizza heavy. Uh, Actually, wait, can you say swear words
You
on
can. Yeah,
this?
you're good. You're good.
Okay. I don't know. You never know what type of media you're on, right?
Yeah. No, you're
I
good.
usually swear tough, but still, sometimes when it comes to pizza, sometimes it's start to shake, you start to like
The
blush.
passion comes out.
Uh,
No, I get it.
the passion comes out. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I do like pizza. I have a lot of Italian friends, and I have a lot of friends from New Jersey, so I do like a good old American style pizza. Do you like pizza?
I like pizza, but I don't really like deep dish pizza. Like I like a New
Mm.
York pizza.
New York pizzas are good, and maybe something to think about where you live, where you are located, where home might be, all those things.
No, I know. I just don't think that pizza is meant to be eaten with a fork and knife. So anytime I have to cut my pizza with a fork and
Mm.
knife, it just feels wrong. And
Yeah.
I also like to have multiple slices of pizza. I don't want to only have
Mm.
one slice of pizza and feel like I'm dead already, which is what deep dish is.
Yeah, no, deep dish is truly a bit aggressive. I had a friend in high school actually who used to eat pizzaritos, which is like a burrito made out of pizza. Like he would just like roll
Ooh,
up pizzas and just like eat them like that. Sometimes sideways too, but that would be
interesting.
just to like create terror and mayhem in school.
Yeah, yeah, no, pizza is a controversial topic for sure.
Deeply. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I wish we could all get along with all pizza, but alas, here we
Sometimes
are.
we're divided sometimes
We
in America
are.
these
No,
days.
everything in America is divided, right? Even little things like pizza, we'll find a way to fight about it.
We can't just be united around hot dogs. We can unite around beer. I think beer
Yeah,
is becoming a bit of a meme even. I don't really drink, but I
same.
like the vibes of someone. If someone says give me 1 million beers, I'm like, yeah, I'll give you 1 million beers. Like, yeah, let's go.
Totally. I love it. Okay,
Mhm.
well, should we get into Dora and some important things that people have come to hear about, not pizza? Um,
We
I,
can get into the side topics, which are Dora and blockchain. Yeah,
Yeah. We'll save the main pizza conference for the pizza conference. We're just the side event
exactly.
here.
Yes.
Well, Bunny, I'm really excited to have you on Rehash finally. I feel like this was a long time coming. You've been nominated a couple of times in the past, and we finally got you on. That's honestly the case with so many people that come on the podcast because there's so many good people nominated each season, and there's only room for like 10 people each season. So a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people, third time's a charm. Like the third time they get nominated is the time they make it on. So that's maybe some pro tips for people in the future who are trying to get on the podcast. But I'm so glad that you're finally here. And I'm so glad that we're finally getting to hear about Dora. I feel like Dora has had a big moment recently. Like in the last few months, you guys launched Dora 2.0. You announced a really big raise. So I've just been seeing Dora all over my timeline. So maybe to start off, can you just give people a high level overview of what Dora is and kind of like from the beginning, like what was the problem that you were trying to solve with Dora and how has it evolved until today?
So, thank you so much. And yes, I'm very happy to finally be here, and I'm glad that me tweeting about please let me just chat to three girl actually worked. So I'm very happy about that. And yes, third time's the charm. So, Dora. So Dora set out to be is to Dora first and foremost started as the small chain search engine, which we've grown to become so much more than that since then. Uh, as of now, Dora, what the true focus of Dora is now is to become your on-chain discovery engine. And how do we do that? Is we do it simply by unifying on-chain experiences. How do we get to this, right? We get to this by thinking, just looking through some of the parallels from the early online history in which we saw the golden age of online adoption come hand in hand with the golden age of its search engines as people started getting this semblance of, oh, there are goods and services that just so happen to be online. Maybe there are now goods and services that just have to be on chain, and we want to be able to procure them through a single unified interface. Do we really care about the complexities behind the different SDKs, different trust security assumptions that are being done on a per chain, per ecosystem basis? We really don't, in the excessive way that we just care that is a website safe enough to access? Okay, that's good. Please let me interact with this online experience. We are looking to unified on-chain experiences, and that is why we created this unified on-chain discovery engine.
Yeah, so
The
let's
oh, go
that I
ahead.
think that's a great high level overview. I would love to dive a little bit deeper and break down some of the individual parts. I because I know you guys have like Dora search, Dora ID, like all of these different aspects of Dora. But high level, like who is like what is I guess like the primary reasons why somebody would go on Dora and use Dora? Like what are they looking for when they do that?
So that is where I think a lot of the spirit of the Aurora product started to shine. People, even though we thought that okay, we want to create this unified on-chain data block explorer experience, people did not end up using Dora for that. What people really started resonating with at Dora was precisely the one piece of identity that they have to relate with different on-chain products, which is their wallets. I sincerely thought that maybe we will be a bit further into on-chain adoption in a global basis, but that's fine. Progress can come in many different ways. We have seen the rise of stablecoins and whatnot, blah blah blah. But the very fascinating thing to me is that people want to access all these new on-chain experiences, all this on-chain discovery. Uh, they relate to on-chain discovery through the lens of their wallets. So that is why we started creating Dora ID, this unified multi-chain interface that lets you see all of your different tokens, NFTs, transactions resolved back to a single EVM address. And now that we're expanding towards, let's say, other ecosystems like Movement, like Fluent, like the Solana ecosystem, we're able to now also bring all of these identity pieces back to a single profile, Twitter ID. Um, that is how we saw why people were starting to use Dora. People don't necessarily get too much out of Dora only on the per transaction basis. It's actually, interesting enough, our least visited page type within Dora, which I find a little bit fascinating. Like people first and foremost look at profile, then usually NFTs because we have a very heavy NFT focus audience, then tokens, and then transaction pages. And even then, they very rarely click on the transaction. They just look at the transaction list, and that's it.
Oh, interesting. And are people looking up their own addresses or are they looking up other people? Like, is it like
Mhm.
people who are going on being like, huh, I wonder what Bunny is holding in his wallet. Let me go like stalk Bunny. Or is it like to track their own assets?
I think there is this idea that we all have that, oh, people like to loot on each other, but we don't really care about someone's Venmo transactions that much, right? I
Right.
think in crypto, because we're power users, we have this idea that everyone is so into this technology as much as we are. But I think people, for the most part, just look up their addresses. Every now and then I have gotten in some chats with some either VCs or crypto power users that are like, oh, why would I use Dora if I can use these 10 other really heavy infrastructure or analytics services? And I'm like, yeah, but do you think if your parents want to interact with crypto, would you show them those tools, or would you show them a more simple, unified, seamless interface that can actually get to the point of interacting with the chain, right? We don't really care about on-chain data as much as we care about actually driving usage to the different ecosystems that we're integrating with. And I think that is
Right.
the value that on-chain brings.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm,
And the other thing about Dora is that all the transactions are human readable, right? So like if I were to go on
mhm,
Etherscan or Basescan or any of these individual
mhm.
block explorers, the things that I'm seeing, I'm just seeing the transaction hash, what the wallet address it came from, the wallet address it's going to, and all of it is kind of like it doesn't really tell me too much instantly. Sometimes it might give me more information than others. Like sometimes maybe if I'm sending you some money, it might connect to my ENS to your ENS, and maybe I'll recognize your ENS, and I can see that instantly and be like, okay, that's when I sent money to Bunny. But other times, if I'm interacting with a new contract, that's just a bunch of like numbers and letters, and it really, like, I have to do some digging and investigating and also like remembering what did I do on September 15th 2024, like, to figure out what the transaction is. So on Dora, all of the transactions are human readable, right? So I can identify instantly like what this actually was that I did.
Exactly. And I think that at the very least, that has served as a way to make people feel comfortable with on-chain experiences. People don't really like to interact with things that they don't truly understand. Um, Something a little bit fascinating though is that people, as chains have become a bit more high throughput, especially as we see it in, let's say, Solana, Mega, or like the movement type ecosystems, we see that people have stopped focusing on the transaction as a way to confirm action, and they just focus on either the transaction feedback that is given to them by an application, or even beyond that, they check their state changes within the user profile itself. Right, like they look at their wallet, they look at their unified ID within Dora. So I think that is also something interesting, which we're starting to see early signs that users finally trust on-chain transactions enough, or like they've gotten enough of a feedback loop of trust from looking at a transaction, understanding, and now feeling comfortable that, okay, at least the action I wanted to do, the intent that I had was fulfilled, so I can just trust that that is taken care of as long as it's on my profile page.
Yeah. Yeah, the human readable aspect of it too, I think like stands out to me a lot because I think, it's something that I've been saying ever since I've been in the space, like back in 2020, and we've made a lot of progress towards that in the last 4 or so years that I've been in the space, but I think there's still a lot of room to grow. Where do you see the like end state of this being as it applies to, like where are we trying to get to with like how human readable do things need to be, or is it, like the burden is on the user to just figure some of this stuff out? I've kind of heard people say, argue both sides of that, where some people say like it has to be just completely human readable, like none of it has to like seem techie at all. And then other people are like, well, if you want to transact with the blockchain, like it's on you to figure some things out. And like you should, it's on you to educate yourself enough that you understand some basic parts of like how blockchain works.
No, I think I can definitely see both sides, and also, quite frankly, we work with teams that are on both sides of the spectrum. We work with teams that have admitted to us only 5% of our chain is readable, and we don't care to increase that readability that much. And we've worked with teams that are, say, oh, we only want to see, like, why isn't this transaction decoded, right? And it's like, well, it's actually contextualizing transactions is really hard problem, and we've now seen 8 block explorer companies go out of business, focusing too much of their time on that. So I think it's also a problem of like incentive alignment, and it's a problem of, let's say, the burden is not necessarily too much on the user, but it's on whoever actually cares enough about someone else's activity or their own activity to make sure that everyone else in the world is able to have visibility into it.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you think that so your opinion is that I guess like from your view, like where do you see us ending up? Is it the protocols that care the most about human readableness that will stick around in the long term, or is it the ones that are, don't care as much and you think people eventually will just learn to like figure it out?
I think it will come to a point in which it'll be on per application basis. There have been some efforts in which, let's say, with this one chain that said only 5% of our chain is readable, the rest is just like noise, or feels like noise, at least for now. Um, Most of their focus was on contextualizing the readableness of their top applications. As soon as you're able to contextualize just the top actually used by human applications, you then create an environment in which people feel more at ease, more welcome, more at home, honestly,
Yeah.
interacting with these on-chain products instead of just being scared of like, oh my God, it's just a bunch of hex. I don't know what to do with it. And also even for let's say accounting purposes, maybe it's a little bit easy, right? But still, at the end of the day, if you're, let's say, you're a programmer, not even a programmer, honestly, if you're in every single field, in any single hyper specialized field, you don't really care too much about what someone else in another field is doing. You don't care about the complexities. You just care that it's you just care that it's okay.
Yeah. You okay there? Take your time. Um,
Yes.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that it's the burden really is going to fall on the apps, like at the app layer. It's not the protocol's job to do something like this. It's not the user's job to have to educate themselves on, deep blockchain things. It's really the app layer's job to make sure that their app is consumer facing. And that kind of makes sense. It's like the protocols are building, the structure, the infrastructure for these apps to exist. And so the apps that are building on top of it really have to make sure that whatever they're building is going to be consumer friendly because they're the ones that are consumer facing, right?
Exactly. And
Do you have
oh
some
my God,
water? Do you have some water with you?
I had some water and then I ran out.
Oh no.
I can
Do you
bring
need to
some
go
water
get
in a
some?
little bit.
If you need to go get
Um,
some, go get some. Yeah.
Actually, yes, I will go get some water real
Yeah.
quick
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Feel
I
free.
want to be able to talk, in a
Yeah.
podcast.
Go get some
Yeah,
water. I'll
I'll
be here.
be right back. Just give me one second.
Okay. GM to Ernest, who's hopping in. You haven't missed any of the meowing. I'll ask Bunny to do some of that for you later when he gets back. Welcome back. Oh, there it
I'm
is.
so much better. Yes. Also, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
but yeah, no, I see it as the burden falling on the user, and also, I mean, if you're sorry, on an application developer,
Yeah.
because if you're an application as well, you care about what is happening on your app and making the user feel comfortable within it. You don't really care as an app developer about what is happening on, let's say, on your competitor as much, or maybe you do, or maybe what is happening on a completely orthogonal app that you're never going to use, right? I don't really care about what is happening on, let's say, I actually no, I was gonna say I don't care about how this table works. This table does look very cool, so maybe I do care about how it works, but I don't care enough to learn about how to install it and all of that
Right.
stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what do you think will happen like over the long term to something like Etherscan or just like the way that any block explorer is set up today? Like what do you think? Do you think they're just going to die out in the future or do you think they're going to evolve with the times and be more useful? Because you know, like we've been in a bear market for a very long time and so we haven't had a lot of like growth in terms of just not like the kind of growth that we had in 2021 with NFTs and we brought in a lot of off-chain people into the on-chain world. We haven't seen that too much lately, but with the next wave of whenever that happens, do you think that that's going to make these existing block explorers essentially obsolete because they're just not catering to the masses enough? Or do you think they'll evolve and grow with the times?
Hi. First of all, that my internet connection just died out for a second.
Oh, no
Um,
worries, you're back.
yeah, I'm back. So I see it as I think block explorers over the long run will trifurcate into these categories of being either a developer focused block explorer, one in which products like the team of Rotscan, Etherscan, and Boxscan are honestly quite shine. They are able to provide quite good developer infrastructure. Um, the team of Boxscan being open source, and also the team of Rotscan having done amazing strides pretty much recreating and pushing the boundaries of what the Etherscan experience is like. Have been amazing to see. Really, really happy with the way that they've developed. Um, they're on the second category that I will put block explorers on are on the analytics portion of things. We've seen market fit for them through products like Dune, Nance, and Arcam that I think there's a lot of analytics products over there in crypto. On the consumer side of the block explorer market is where I find it to be the most fascinating because we've now to date have seen like eight consumer block explorers die out because they honestly cater, in my view, to the completely wrong market. One in which, as power users, we like to think that the tools that we would use as power users will be adopted widely by a more massive audience. However, as you pointed out, we have not had this insane growth or reach from onboarding moment that we have back in 2021, 2022, to NFTs especially. So we have gotten this net new user that will be curious about on-chain products has not been there to meet the demand of different products that attempted to onboard some of them, right? So there's a problem in the consumer landscape of block explorers in which they're either too early or too power user focused, and then they get no adoption from outside. You need to be very intentional about which side you're catering to, and yeah, just adapt with the times. I think, however, on this thesis is predicated on us seeing block explorers as they are today truly dying. Like I do not believe on the read-only block explorer at all. Especially after seeing eight of them go bankrupt, even though they all raise there are some rate out there that raise like 10 times more than what we did, but they went out of business very quickly due to infrastructure decisions, due to bad economic models, due to bad commercial models, due to a lack of PMF. I think that I don't think that people like on-chain data. People don't really care about what is happening on chain. People care about how they can actually interact with these chains and how they can relate to their goods and services. That is what people truly care about.
Yeah. Does Dora also like aggregate and help people understand what this on-chain data means? Like similar to what you would be able to build with like a Dune dashboard, where it's not just telling me like showing me like what my transactions are, but it's telling me, giving me information like, this is like how many NFTs I've collected, and like this is, how much like trading volume I have, or like how much money I've made from trading like this coin or whatever. Like, does it give, analytics and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, so that we have gotten requests by both chains and also users on the analytics portion of things. I think block explorers as just raw read-only data are not really successful. However, what people really like is insights. For some reason, we
Mm,
all find it very fascinating to know a little bit more about ourselves, like Spotify Wrapped type
yeah.
experiences. That definitely has a product market fit, and we are catering towards that. We're releasing Dora Insights actually. Um, we like to have very cheesy names for stuff. I think it makes it more easily stickable to users, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're releasing Dora Insights, giving you a little bit more visibility as to what is happening, let's say, within the arbiter morbid ecosystem, or what is happening within the optimism superchain, right? Like these types of insights do make people feel a little bit more not only knowledgeable about what is happening in the space, but also, oh, what is my ecosystem growing? Am I growing with the ecosystem? Should I be exploring other ecosystems that are growing faster than mine? Or, oh, what am I missing, right? Like, why is everyone so excited about this change? Should I be in there? So these types of insights I do think are valuable for the user. And when it comes to the chain foundation teams, honestly, it also helps them actually have a proper analytics or data-driven decision making for how they do growth, right? If you see a lot of transaction activity, higher gas usage, higher gas post usage posted on your chain, maybe you're doing things great, and maybe you should keep doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if I am trying to, um, I'll just give you a hypothetical. Like, for example, for myself, like I am not very familiar with the Solana ecosystem. Say I want to learn more about Solana. I want to discover apps on Solana. I want to discover NFTs, projects. Like, I just want to like learn more about Solana. How could I use Dora to explore on chain, like what's going on in the Solana ecosystem?
So we are expanding towards the Solana ecosystem, and sadly we don't have it just integrated just yet. But soon you'll be able to go on Dora, even on the homepage. We will already prime you with oh, if you are interested on this chain, click here. Very easy call to action. You can go in there, and then we'll show you the different trending versions of different tokens, different NFTs, maybe a mint of the day that we curated through being able to collaborate either with the foundation directly or with different artist collectives that can nominate themselves, or we also have started even choosing some artist collectives that we would like to highlight within our different ecosystems, and that way you can finally start learning a little bit more about these different ecosystems, these different applications. We have an ecosystems tab that we're able to that we use to post every single project that gets deployed on a new chain. We try to map it out to certain smart contracts as well sometimes, but sometimes it's also even more helpful to say, oh, this project's Twitter is this, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that way you can start learning more about these ecosystems, and let's say through indexing, let's say of NFT data, you're able to showcase as well some stuff like, oh, are you interested on this NFT? This is their website, this is their Discord, Telegram, and whatnot. We want to give people as much information as they want, and yeah, just meet them where they're at.
Yeah, I think that can be really helpful too for preventing, or not necessarily preventing scams, but just helping people stay safer on chain. Because if I, say like I go on, I see a project that's like Pudgy Penguins, I'm like, okay, yeah, like sounds familiar, like I know that. And I want to verify if the person messaging me this link to their supposed Pudgy Penguins project is real or not. I could go on Dora and search for that project and see if any of my other friends are holding it. And if none of my friends are holding this, then likely it's a scam, right? Because I probably have some friends that are holding Pudgy since it's a pretty popular project. So is that like something that is something you guys are thinking about, or a priority is like keeping people safe on chain as well through providing all of this information and making it all human readable as well?
Yeah, a lot of our priorities are honest for the longest time was on the convenience and simplicity of navigating on chain, right? And being able to achieve that also comes with the fact that on chain can be dangerous. Even today, I actually had a bit of an on chain scare
Uh-oh.
because some wallets and some tokens were supported on some wallets, so I had to use a way older version of a wallet, and I had to do a bunch of more complicated activity that I actually like to do, but I learned something. But I don't think everyone like. I don't think my mom would like to learn that
Mhm.
lesson today on chain. So yes, a lot of our priority is on actually letting people feel comfortable, feeling that they can trust us to actually start navigating on chain, and that is the whole ethos behind discovery, right? Like you want to create a safe space for discovery and yeah, playfulness with on-chain products, with new technology in general, right? No one really wants to try a new technology if they feel even slightly unsafe with it. There's a very small category of people on a global basis that feel comfortable doing that. But if we want this technology to get adopted, then yes, it has to be a priority.
Yeah. Have you thought about like how all of this will eventually link to like reputation systems, like on chain or
Mhm.
decentralized reputation systems? I feel like I've had so many conversations recently about like decentralized reputation, so that's been top of mind for me. And I could see how over time, as you build more like features onto Dora, more verifiability, that you could use Dora as a single source of truth for what is real and what isn't. And that could over time help projects and eventually even people like individually build up their reputation on chain as well. Is that something that you've thought about? Do you have any thoughts on that?
We've seen a few reputation projects come around that try to create a semblance of on-chain reputation, which quite frankly were early versions of what we eventually wanted to do with Dora. Something that we noticed is not necessarily something that you want to do. It's I don't like calling it on-chain reputation. I like calling it just on-chain clout because
Mm-hmm.
at that point it very much feels like a little bit gamified, right? You don't want to use on-chain reputation to say do uncollateralized loans because they can be easily gameable. As soon as you know a system and you programmatically display it, especially in an on-chain setting, in a public manner, it's a bit more easy to game it. But what people do feel very happy about and can resonate with is that, oh, I've been swapping a lot. Oh yeah, I'm a swapper, or I'm a DJ, and people feel like to resonate with these things. Day to day, uh, today people feel like they belong to a lot of these internet collectives or these reputation categories by owning these different tokens and NFTs. So, or even being able to get an airdrop actually also forms as a way of on-chain reputation. So there are indirect ways by which Dora can help this on-chain reputation by saying, "Oh, look at this person's address. They have a Milady. They have a Pudgy Penguin. You know what they're about, right?" But I think that to me at least, this is more analogous to social cloud than
Mm-hmm.
reputation that you can use for financial products, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can totally see that now that you've said it. We do have a question from the audience from Gonzalo. He said, "What is Bunny's favorite use of Dora on a day-to-day basis besides checking a transaction?"
Mhm.
I think he's asking for
Yeah,
your personal
so
favorite. Yeah.
100%. Actually, just like going to a new chain. We have Dora actions that let you cross-chain swap and breach into new ecosystems. I don't like using Dora much when it comes to check transactions, actually. I also even found myself not even checking transactions anymore, just because I don't really care the complexities behind some of the transactions. Sometimes I do some very Like today, I did some very complex stuff. I did not check the transaction if the transaction went through. I checked my wallet because even there were delays between the different applications that I was using. So I technically knew some, let's say, application one, two, and three. Application two was still loading, but I knew three had finished and maybe one had finished. So there was a void, quite literally, of information that I just had no idea about. I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll just check my wallet at the end. There you go, my token was there, and that was all fine. Um, I primarily use it to track generally on-chain activity, cross-chain of my own wallet, and then to get into a new chain that we integrate with, and that's it.
Yeah, I could see it.
Mhm.
He also said in the comments too, like that's a great question, how to explore other chains. I do think that I can see that being one of the biggest use cases is just people wanting to explore different blockchains than the one that they typically use and seeing what else is happening there. And even like within the, because right now it's EVM supported, right, across all Dora is.
Yes, right now we are primarily working with EVM based chains. However, we are expanding into the movement ecosystem and now Solana as
Right, right,
well.
right.
So anything from Move and network extensions, you'll see them on Dora very soon.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, even somebody right now who like primarily transacts on say like optimism, and they want to go and explore base or go and explore like Arbitrum and see what's happening there. Like they could use Dora to do that and just get more well versed into other EVM compatible there's I mean EVM ecosystems, there's already so many. So already there's like a lot that people can do there in terms of exploring new chains and new ecosystems.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I guess to highlight that every single one of these chains are effectively just servers, right? Like they may have some peculiarities that make them more well suited for certain applications and whatnot. But end of the day, there even though we do have an abundance of L2s, there is still quite a few things to learn in each one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Longer term for Dora, what do you see as like the end state for what Dora is trying to accomplish? Like once it's the full vision is built out.
We want to be sincerely we want to unify the on-chain economy, right? Like when I say that, I don't mean it in a interoperability, infrastructure for it and whatnot, but I genuinely mean it that if you at any point in time are even slightly curious about what is happening on chain, in the excessive way that people sometimes want to learn about a new good and service that just so happens to be offered online, I want Dora to be the one place that you as a, let's say, even as a power user, you can show to anyone around you and say, "Hey, are you curious about this thing? Yeah, just go on Dora, you'll find it." Right? Like just like in the exact way that people said, Google it. Like that is where I want us to take Dora, and we're also very close with the Google team as well, and they really like the approach that we're taking, and we actually chatted very closely about how a lot of the adoption of Google was primarily through, let's say, products that show you what was trending online because people didn't know what was happening online early days. So I think that we're seeing some of that. We're bringing some of that back to on-chain now.
Yeah, and would it be where you could actually type in a human readable sentence like, what is Pudgy Penguins? And it would take you to the actual contract of the site and give you their Twitter links and like all of that information. Is that how you are envisioning it?
So I will instinctively I would like to say yes. However, I've now seen five block explorers that went out of business doing that because
Mm,
right now I guess on-chain, I guess on-chain power users don't really like that UX just yet. I think that a lot of our users see it as a very cool trick, in the exact way that people like to play with a new AI agent or like a new ChatGPT type wrapper, but then they don't really use it, right? Like it's something cool, it's very technically complex, it's something that we already have for online, so maybe we'll work on chain. But yeah, we just haven't seen enough of that adoption just yet. What we have seen though is people searching keywords, and and it pains me to say this, but people still searching hex, and actually, interestingly enough, ENSs are very consistently one of the most searched things. And then people usually search up an address for like an ENS, and if it's not associated or it contains the other thing that they were searching for, that is how they get there.
Gotcha. That actually does make sense now that I think of it. Like, for example, I discovered a new tool called Dexa that can
Yeah.
basically like parse through all of my podcast episodes, which we have over 100 episodes, and you can just type in sentences like you would to Google, like, you can type in like what is an NFT and it'll pull up all the episodes where we talked about what is an NFT, or you could talk about like which, layer 2 roll-ups are big today or something, and it'll pull up all the episodes there. And it's like, in theory, it sounds like a really cool tool, but like you were saying, like in practice, now that I think of it, I actually like hardly ever use the tool, even though I think it's a really cool tool. So yeah, I don't know what it is, why people don't actually use it, even though it's like really cool.
I think it's just that we know what information. So like I think it has to do with the fact that we don't really care about on-chain data. What we care about is discovery of new interesting things, right? And we discovery doesn't necessarily start internally. There's internal and external discovery. You can create quests, journeys for people to take on and have a more guided handheld discovery journey. You can create some, let's say, trending tabs that show you not what you should discover, but what the world is discovering, and maybe you can be part of this global movement as well. Uh, and then, of course, I think a lot of crypto native users do have this very inquisitive mind, so they have a lot more of a internal, I guess, discovery drive. So they know what they want, and they are just looking for the best way to find that, right?
Mm,
Um, but that is again a very much power user
yeah.
use case. It's not like you don't go on TikTok and then search a keyword. You just go on TikTok and you hope that your feed will tell you what something that you like.
Yeah. Yeah. Is
Mhm.
that a feature that you guys are trying to build in with Dora in the future too? Almost something like Daylight, where it just shows like other projects that like wallets you're connected to are following, like other projects you might like because you minted this, so you might also want to mint that.
Yes, I think, however, it's a very interesting on-chain social problem. Um, right now, and I can, and I imagine that a lot of the listeners to the show will relate to this, but I don't really do a lot of actions on chain unless I know that a friend that I trust a lot has told me that it will be a good action, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean like having insider information, but more so like it means that I a lot of the social dynamics of what is happening on chain are very peer to peer and not necessarily declared on chain first, and then maybe a pattern may emerge and then people are able to engage with it, yes. But by the time that pattern emerges, I wonder if you are, you know, I don't think that the For You page on Daylight is too much of a leading indicator as much as it is a trailing indicator.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
That, however, does not mean that you cannot create this global, hey, everyone's doing this, maybe you want to do it too, right?
Yeah, I do think, yeah. And so are you saying like Dora is more of gonna be like a leading indicator type of thing instead of like a trailing indicator, like Daylight is?
Not necessarily trying to put us a little bit ahead of them. I think that they built a good product. It's just more so a matter that we target the audience. Our target audience is one in which maybe they don't have there's not as much information in symmetry, right? Like we just tell them, hey, this is what's happening on chain. Maybe you think it's cool, maybe not. Um, you can explore around. There's a lot of chains out there. There's a lot of different trendy. You like NFTs? No, you hate them. Okay, here's tokens. You like tokens? Okay, go interact with them, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's more so about creating, in my view, a trends page for. Actually, this is a very very concrete example. I was showing the trends page to this team, and they didn't seem too interested until I said, "Hey, maybe there can be a trends page for RWAs, and which one gives you the highest yield?" And then they were like, "Whoa, we need this product. How isn't this alive just yet?" And in the back of my mind, I was like, "This is the only person I've ever heard to be excited about a trends page for RWAs." But hey, this person also knows a lot of other asset managers, and they will 100% use Dora just to see what is the trendiest RWA.
Yeah. Do you still see most people using Dora for like people that are interested in the financial aspects of things like trading and stuff, or do you see them more like I would consider myself to be somebody who is interested in exploring new apps and new more like consumer facing things, not so much interested in trading or exploring DeFi products. Do you see most of your users falling into like the DeFi bucket or more like my persona bucket?
My persona, definitely more consumer focused, are top performing both tweets and also actual on-chain actions are all based on NFTs. We haven't had as much luck of getting people to actually trade on things, except when, I will say this, except when, let's say, getting from token A to token B is required to mean something. There, then we have had quite a bit of luck of getting people to actually start using the swapping widget and whatnot. Um, but yeah, that is where we're seeing. And even then, we're expanding to Solana, right? And also within
Yeah.
movement, where there is quite a bit of trading activity. So maybe we'll see a bit more of that activity coming soon.
Yeah. Okay. So I am on, we're going to do a little live experiment. I am on Dora right now and I'm just searching rehash and there's one rehash thing that pops up. I'm not sure what it is. And I'm not seeing our on-chain podcasts pop up on there. So I'm curious how this how the data is pulled like is when you say like the
Mm.
EVM data is all on there, is it like pulled automatically from the various protocols on EVM or the various chains on EVM, or is it still
Mm.
like are you adding projects manually still?
There's a few projects that we're adding manually. I will be curious if when you search Rehash, which chain is it on, and also if it's declared on chain that it's called that. Which chain is it? Sorry.
It is, where do I see accounts? It might be it is on, it might be a wallet. Oh, wait, what is this? No, token tracker rehash. Okay, this is where I'm like a noob.
Oh, good. I can try finding it in a minute. But the short, I guess, first answer for the question is we are adding a few application. The applications we can add manually. Some of the mapping of applications to smart contracts can be done also a little bit more manually and systematically. Um, the NFTs, though, we are working towards increasing search for them because it's a bit of an interesting technical problem actually because there's a lot of noise on chain and you don't necessarily want to pay to host information that literally no one is going to want to find or ever want to use. So there are a lot of improvements that we still need to do actually on the search portion of things. And on top of that, we have coverage of quite a few chains, but we haven't covered just yet some of the largest chains out there. Until we're actually now working with a few of them. So maybe you'll see a bit of increased coverage soon.
Yeah, well, okay, so like relatedly, you asked, if like our rehash contract was like connected to the name rehash, and I'm not sure. So that might be an important question too. Is what do people need to do in order to like give their contract a proper name to make it searchable?
Actually, it's a good question. It's something that we haven't thought too much about. The main thing, though, is that there are some let's say you can declare the name of the contract once you're able to publish it and then verify it. I think to me that is the easiest thing. And then there's also actually one way more simple thing that if you go to the bottom of Dora, you see that there's a little thing that says contribute. You can click on submit labels, and then you're able to say, oh, this is my contract
Oh,
address, this is my DAP name, this is the contract name. And if you can also provide your username or address such that we can keep track of who are contributors of on-chain contextualization, right? I do still think that there are some areas in which, for better or for worse, it needs to be done manual. And I think increasing context of on-chain contracts is one of those manual processes. We know of a few chains that quite literally have some DevRel teams just dedicated to finding
wow.
out the teams behind some contracts, and they're like, hey, can you verify? Can you give it a name? Who are you, by the way?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff like that. And the one last thing I'll say is that I do genuinely believe that on-chain contextualization needs to be a community-driven effort, um, mostly because it's quite frankly a full-time job, and I've seen way too many block explorer companies go out of business just trying to contextualize on-chain data. I don't want that to keep on happening. Not only because nothing against competition, it's just more so that it's people's lives, times, peace of mind. I think that maybe we as an entire industry can do a better effort on contextualizing this on-chain data.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that form now, super helpful. How do you make sure, now that I'm looking at this form, I'm thinking like, how do you make sure that the things that people submit through the form are legit? Like obviously I'm just
I
like
think
trying to submit rehash, but like what's stopping somebody from, submitting something that's like totally wrong?
They can submit it. I think we'll just fact check it. We
Okay.
can double check with like the DApp team. We can say, hey, this one seems a bit interesting. Like, is this real? We have had someone apply for a job through the contribution page. So we were
Oh,
like, okay, this contract is definitely not called. Hi, my name is blah blah blah, and I studied here, and I have this much years of experience. It would be hilarious if that was a contract name, but I most likely it's not, right?
yeah.
I think it's really funny. I think that we all take for granted that curation or like filtering is just like there and it exists across every aspects of our life. But no, like spam filtering, as there's, maybe you've seen the interviews with the early spam filters and sorry, sanity, I guess, health and sanity moderators for Facebook, right? You've seen those interviews, so I think that we'll get to that at some point on chain. It won't be pretty, but it's something that needs to be done manually for now.
Yeah, for sure. I also see it says like add your username or address if you want to be recognized. I think that could be not to, my brain is just always going back to reputation, but like that could be a good way too to keep people honest too, is like if they want
Yeah,
to submit something totally wrong, their name's going to be attached to it. So you don't really want to build a reputation off of that.
yeah, we consider something along the lines of like right now it's just a Google form, right? So you can attach any wallet address you can, but we have considered making this how to say, making this form an on-chain one that you have to sign off on
Mm,
before you submit it, right? So that way you have to at the very least, you have to go through the trouble of creating a new ad address before submitting something.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Do you have any final thoughts on Dora? Anything that we didn't cover that you want to make sure people know about?
I think that I think people have gotten a bit jaded on these new L2s and oh, too many chains, too many networks. But honestly, that is how technology evolves, and also how it's not a matter of how we make these, how to say, how many more chains we create, but about what uses we give to each one of them, right? If
Hmm.
there's actually stuff that people want to see, people want to use within all these ecosystems, uh, we want to make sure that people are able to actually have a single place that they can be highlighted on and find them. And we want to make Dora that place for you.
Yeah, bullish. And then the last question I'm asking everyone this season, you're the first one, so you don't know what it is yet, is I'm just asking everyone to give me like one word or one phrase that they think will describe 2025, like in the context of crypto.
I think uh, abundance, and this comes from both the good side and the bad side of abundance. I think that with abundance, there's a lot of uh, people can get overwhelmed by abundance. People can also be, of course, very grateful for abundance. And we've
Yeah.
come far as an industry. We'll see, but I think that people sometimes, we can all get a little bit tired of some of the same things coming over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. Cool. Well, we'll see if that pans out. Thank you so much, Bunny. Tell people where they can find you if they want to follow you personally, and then also where people can go to check out Dora.
You can find me on @Conejo Capital on Twitter and on a lot of other social medias as well. And then you can find Dora on @Search on Dora on Twitter.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll include those in the show notes to make it easy for people. And appreciate you taking the time. I know it's 2 a.m. for you right now, so really appreciate you taking the
Yes.
time to come on the podcast. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back again next week with another episode of Rehash.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.